Hey guys, welcome back to Flourish. Today while I was recording this, I was snowed in from all of the winter storms that we've been experiencing. So I decided I was going to focus on the beautiful flowers that I have inside just to ward off those winter blues. So for today's lesson, you'll need watercolor paper, watercolors, paintbrushes, water jar, paper towel, and either a reference photo or some actual flowers that you have at the house. I've taught you a lot of ink and watercolor lessons, so I decided we're going to do something new and just use our paints. So first, I decided which flower I'm going to start off with. I've chosen one of the pink flowers over here, just so I can think about how I'm going to arrange things on my paper. So we can get started as soon as you have all of your supplies ready. So since we have done a lot of sketching with our pencils first and then drawing over it with a pen and then painting it, I thought it would be a really good idea to kind of give ourselves another challenge. I highly recommend trying some art techniques that you may not have ever tried before, and don't let yourself get too scared by that. That's how we do a lot of our growing as an artist, honestly. I started getting much better at sketching once I started practicing drawing faces more, especially male faces. I tended to not get them right usually, but after a lot of practice, I finally nailed it. So with anything, you put the time and effort into it, you are gonna see results. If you try something once and say, well, I'm not good at it, well, yeah, you're not gonna be good at it unless you start practicing more. So just give yourself that time. We're snowed in right now anyway, at least the time I'm recording this. So we might as well do something that will enrich and make ourselves better, huh? So as you can see, I'm starting with my shadows first, just kind of sketching out those dark lines that I'm seeing on my flower. Just kind of practicing getting the shape right. Something that I see a lot of new artists do, it's drawing flowers just from the face up. You really want to practice drawing them from different angles. Practice getting the petals going in different directions. You'll find it's a little bit difficult at first, but over time, it's gonna get easier and you're gonna be really proud of your results. So I've gotten most of my shadows. Now what I'm going to do is let that sit for just a moment because I don't want my colors to blend too much when I go to finish it. So I'm actually going to start on my next one. The next one I'm going to be doing, it's actually it's a white rose, but you'll notice the color I'm about to use is not white at all. It's actually kind of brown, a little bit of gray, because if you look closely at these flowers, you'll see their shadows. It's not just an all white flower. It has so many different shades in it. So what I want to do is practice capturing all of them. And again, making sure that I'm painting my flower from different angles. I'm gonna make sure it's the same angle so they all match, but I don't want all of my flowers to just be face up. And with flowers, there's lots of different layers to the petals. I found that working my way up is the best way, just so I make sure I have space for all of them, that the petals don't overlap in an awkward way. And then we'll start curving them different direction. And that looks really great. So next what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start shading a little bit. I'm gonna use a little bit of a lighter color than I did to sketch it out at first. So I'm gonna make sure the insides of my petals are darker than the outside because that's what I'm matching right now. That's how all my shadows are hitting. What you can do is start off really, really light. Even if you're confident with your color, you can still do a lighter color like I'm doing here. That gives you a lot more flexibility if you need to change something or if your water kind of started drizzling over. It's a lot easier to fix it when your colors are really light because you can always make them darker later. It's a lot harder to make things lighter after you've already painted on it. It's possible, but it takes a lot of work and you can damage your watercolor paper doing that if you aren't doing it right. Too much rubbing on the paper, you'll find that it'll start to peel off. You'll get these little weird paper dots and you really don't want that because once that starts to happen, there can be a hole in your paper and sometimes you just have to start over or decide, I'm just gonna use this to my advantage and say it's a new style, right? All right, so since this is dry enough, I'm gonna go back with my lighter color because those are my shadows, so what I paint over needs to be lighter than that. And I'm gonna go over and I'm taking note that there are a few little white spots in places, so I'm gonna make sure that I leave those. And what I will do with this one, because the color I'm looking at is really vibrant, I'm gonna probably do yet another layer even after this one, just to make sure everything stands out the way I want it to. And I'm gonna bring in that brighter pink that I'm seeing on the inside. I'm gonna bring that out. So that everything starts to blend really well. So you can see where I left it white, it isn't gonna stay white, but it's gonna have a lighter shade to it to show all the texture on the flowers. Because flowers have a lot of details in them. And I wanna make sure I showcase as many as possible. You'll also notice I'm not spending a lot of time really putting a lot of paint at this point because I don't want the shadows I've painted to start to blend in too much. I want them to stand out. That looks really good. So what I might do, I might come back, add some more shadows later, but for now I'm gonna let that dry. And start the next color. I think I would like to do a yellow flower. They're so cheerful. Even though this winter it's been really tough, I've really been trying to focus on what's going right and instead of what's going wrong. I'm trying to think about what I have to be thankful for, what I have to be happy about. Flowers give me a lot of joy, so I'm just gonna focus on their beauty and just let myself relax. It's so important to give yourself that time. It's good to stay relatively busy and occupied, but you don't want to be so busy that you can't relax or trying so hard with a project, whether it's baking or playing an instrument or art, that it becomes stressful because this is supposed to be an activity that helps you relax. It's normal for it to sometimes feel a little bit frustrating, but if it starts to feel frustrating, just take a break. You might need to warm up your hand a little bit more. You might just need another day to just come back to it. Because fun fact, whenever we go to sleep, our brain still works on our problem solving. So if I'm not sure about what to do about something I'm working on, sometimes I just say, all right, taking a break for the day, and when I come back the next morning, I already have some new ideas. It's pretty cool how that works. But I just have to give myself the time I need just to make sure I can do that. So what I've done, I added a little bit too much color, and like I said, it's possible to make things lighter. You can do that by taking a dry piece of paper towel and dabbing on your page. You don't want to rub it, because again, gonna have holes in the paper, and that's a really sad day. We want to avoid that. And when you're using yellow, I really recommend washing out your water glass quite a bit, because yellow, it can start to look like weird shades of green or orange really fast. So again, I'm gonna let that sit for a moment. My pink flower, it's almost dry enough. So in the meantime, moving on to the next. Let's see, I have a really cute purple flower over here. I'm gonna give that one a try next. What I'm doing, I'm trying to match the shade of purple I have over there, because I have purple in my box, but I want to make sure that this is really making this flower shine out in all its beauty. So I'm gonna make sure that the angle is right, because this flower, it's a little flat and then it starts to curve up, so I'm gonna make sure that my outside petals are doing what they're supposed to. So I have my shape, and then I can start adding the rest of the petals. And I'm not sure the name of this flower, but they have all these really weird angles going on, so it's difficult to capture. So for this one, if I find it's not really looking the way I want to, something I could do would be take a break and go get some scratch watercolor paper and start practicing on there until I really get it, and then I can come back to my actual painting and make sure that it's looking the way I would like it to. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get it right the first time. Sometimes all you need is just, again, take a break. Get yourself another piece of paper. Whatever you need to do to make this more fun. I don't want to lose too many of my highlights. I have a white paint, so if I need to, I can go ahead and do that, but would like to try to keep that going. My yellow, I believe that's dry enough. Let's go ahead and grab some of that. I'm gonna start adding texture to it. It's looking pretty good. And what I'm doing right now, I just dipped my brush just in the plain water, and I'm using that to blend in my colors a little bit more. And that one I'm gonna come back because this flower, I should be able to show it to you. It has a lot of all these really pretty petals, so it's gonna take a lot of layering to get that right. Just put that back where it was. All right, so while that dries, I need to think about the next flower I want to use. And if you get inspired by maybe one of your favorite flowers, looking up a picture, you can do both. You can look up pictures and look at your real flowers too. There's really no wrong answers to this. Unfortunately, I have not seen a lot of flowers outside, but I know lots of people have little sunrooms, so maybe there's some flowers out there, or greenhouse. Again, this one has a lot of petals. So lots of texture on here. And this one I'm gonna try to do a better job at leaving more white so that the highlights are there and I won't have as much to touch up on later. All right, coming back again to my pink flower. I'm gonna go over that again with another layer. Lots and lots of layering to this, but each one gives it so much more depth. It's pretty amazing what going over it just one more time will do for you. So already this pink, it doesn't look quite as washed out as it was before, because like I said, this one's a really vibrant flower, so I want to make sure I can have that, because unfortunately flowers don't last forever. I can at least keep it in my memory and capture the best I can on this page. Give me something cheerful to look at later, huh? Hopefully you're feeling inspired with all the different flowers that there are. There's so many options. I made a flower painting a few years ago. It took me 3 years to finish. It was a lot of work. That one was acrylic. And by the time I was done, I decided, I can have a break from painting flowers for a while. But while I was working on it, it was so much fun researching all of these different and unique flowers. Some of them I've never seen them before. Some of them I really wanted to get better at painting them. So that was a really cool project. I'm really glad that I got to do that. Really glad that I persevered and pushed through, because like I said, that one took 3 years. So that being said, even if you don't finish your painting here today, just by sitting down for the first time, that is all right. Give yourself the time that you need. If you're enjoying it, but then you feel like you need a break to go walk around, by all means, make sure you're giving your body what it needs. There, it looks so much different now, right? Way better color. I like this so much more. what I'm hoping for is that this is the last of the winter storm, so we can all start enjoying going on our walks again, being in nature. I suppose you can be in nature now, but you have to wear a lot of layers, maybe even 2 coats. It gets pretty cold. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. That looks really good. Now I think I have time for a few more. I have another flower that's really pretty. Gonna try that one next. This one, it has pink in the middle of the flower, then the edges of the petals, they're white. So we're gonna see how that one turns out, and then I'll come back and finish my purple and yellow because they need some attention. So for this one, I'm actually gonna start with the middle of the flower first, because I think that's gonna be a little bit easier. And because there's white at the ends, gonna really try to make sure I'm giving myself the space that I need. Luckily, in the middle here, I can paint around, which makes things a little bit easier, but on my edge petals, I won't be able to do that. I'm gonna need kind of that color I used for the white rose over there. I'm giving myself a challenge today because I haven't painted these flowers in a while. I had a different vase. Unfortunately, some of them I've had to throw them away because they have reached their expiration date. But I had some different flowers in there that I got to practice. But this is a good challenge. All right, we're reaching the edge of the flower. Like I said, to finish off the petals, I'm gonna need a different color. So I should have given myself enough space with that. I have some of my rose color left, so I'm gonna use that and outline the petals. And once you can see the edge of it, you can start to see how really pretty this flower is. So I'm gonna highlight that a little more. Make sure it stands out. And then what I can do later is paint some more flowers around it so that the white will stand out even more. So I will do that later. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up my yellow flower, adding the rest of that texture because there's quite a bit of it. Pretty good, and now the purple. Yeah, that is starting to look a lot better. Just needed more texture. Needed more shadows. I'm gonna make sure that I add in enough shadows over here because it's kind of being covered up by this one. So it's not gonna be as light as the rest of it. All right. Now before we go, I'm gonna tackle a few leaves here. So I'm looking at which leaves match my flowers. And this one is much darker green than how it looks on my page, so I'm gonna have to layer that quite a few times. There we go. And then those yellow flowers they had, those are really weird looking, but looks super unique. I like it. Make sure that those match. And my purple flower, it's kind of a similar shape, but it's much darker. Matches a little bit more the leaves for this pink flower. Actually, I can finally see the name on a little info thing. These are azaleas, so glad I could finally figure that out. That is a goal of mine. I would like to get better at identifying different plants and flowers, especially so that when people ask what my favorite flower is, I could actually know the names of them. Okay, I'm gonna make the darker green for the purple flower. Now I'm gonna let this dry because I want it to look like the leaf is curling up. So we'll let that sit for just a moment. All right. Add the matching ones over here. And then as I darken this leaf, that's gonna make that white flower stand out so much more. Well, I hope that you've been having fun with our lessons today. My hope is to try to give us some different things to do than watching TV and video games. And don't get me wrong, I like video games too, they're a lot of fun. But I just want to make sure I'm not spending too much time looking at a screen. I want to make sure I'm doing something different, challenging myself, giving myself a chance to be creative. And while I do believe you can do that with video games, sometimes it's just nice to have another option, right? All right, we are just about out of time for today, but what I'm gonna do, I am definitely gonna finish this painting later. I'm gonna add a lot more shading to my leaves. I'm gonna give my purple flower a lot more depth because I think it needs to be a little bit darker than what it is right now. Other than that, I really hope that you enjoyed our lesson today. I look forward to showing you another one in the near future. So stay warm, take care of yourself, give yourself breaks, try to think about what's good in your life, because it's really easy to think about the things that we're not happy about, but practice focusing on what does make you happy. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.